Victory in the name, no name above the name of Jesus. There's freedom in the name, no power can stand against, no name above the name of Jesus. There's power in the name, victory in the name, no name above the name of Jesus. There's freedom in the name, no power can stand against, no name above the name of Jesus. Nothing stands against, breakthroughs on the way. There's victory in the mighty name of Jesus. Every knee will bow, every tongue confess. There's victory in the mighty name of Jesus. Your name is victory. There's comfort in the name, healing in the name, chains fall at the name of Jesus. There's mystery in the name, wonder in the name, chains fall at the name of Jesus. There's comfort in the name, healing in the name, chains fall at the name of Jesus. There's mystery in the name, there's wonder in the name, chains fall at the name of Jesus. Nothing stands against, breakthroughs on the way. There's victory in the mighty name of Jesus. Every knee will bow, every tongue confess. There's victory in the mighty name of Jesus. Oh, we sing out your name. You are the God that healeth me. You are the Lord, my healer. You sent your word and healed my disease. You are the Lord, my healer. You are the God that healeth me. You are the Lord, my healer. You sent your word and healed my disease. You are the Lord, my healer. Oh, nothing stands against, breakthroughs on the way. There's victory in the mighty name of Jesus. And every knee will bow, every tongue confess. There's victory in the mighty name of Jesus. For your name is above all names. We sing out your name, Jesus.
Matthew 14, verses 13 to 27. When Jesus heard what had happened, he withdrew by boat privately to a solitary place. Hearing of this, the crowds followed him on foot from the towns. When Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them and healed those who were ill. As evening approached, the disciples came to him and said, "This is a remote place and it's already getting late. Send the crowds away so that they can go to the villages and buy themselves some food." Jesus replied, "They do not need to go away. You give them something to eat." "We have here only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish," they answered. "Bring them here to me," he said. And he told the people to sit down on the grass. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he gave thanks, and broke the loaves. Then he gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the people. They all ate and were satisfied, and the disciples picked up 12 basketfuls of broken pieces that were left over. The number of those who ate were about 5,000 men, besides women and children. Immediately, Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of them to the other side whilst he dismissed the crowd. After he had dismissed them, he went up a mountainside by himself to pray. Later that night, he was there alone, and the boat was already a considerable distance from the land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage, it is I. Don't be afraid." Jesus went out to a solitary place. How many times do we hear that in the Gospels? I often wonder about the moments that weren't included in the Gospel accounts, especially the long walks that Jesus would have done when travelling between towns with his disciples. The Gospels seem to me like a little bit like a highlight collection, and I think a lot about Jesus' time during his ministry and how much of it would have been spent in the in-between places and embracing the space. But even in the highs of his ministry, he always seeks time in silence and in solitude. Before feeding the 5,000, he was on his way to a solitary place. After feeding the 5,000, and before walking on water, he went up a mountainside to pray. I'd love to see the spots that Jesus went to pray. Silence and solitude balances out the noise of life. By stopping, we open ourselves to that noise. Like a shaken up snow globe, we can let it settle and then see the picture. There's vulnerability in that because we don't always know what we'll find once the dust settles and the noise quietens down. But I rest in the knowledge that he's the one who silences the storms, and that by seeking his presence, what we will find will always be good.